Well, you're fired. This guy, he said the wrong thing, and the consequences were severe. Let's take a look. All right, so recently we showed you a clip of a guy in Chicago. He was a protester at a No Kings rally, and he had a few choice words to say that has landed him not only in hot water, but with some deep consequences. You remember this clip? Let's take a look.
You gotta grab a gun. We gotta turn around the guns on this fascist system. These ICE agents gotta get shot and wiped out. The state machinery, that's a full display right there, has to get wiped out.
Yeah, okay, that's not going to go over very well, and it didn't. Now, first of all, I don't know if it's the adrenaline rush from having an audience and a microphone that you say some really, really dumb things. But yeah, what you thought you heard him say is actually what he said. They got to be wiped out, talking about ICE agents. Everybody's got to get a gun. Everybody, every now and then, life kind of gives you that front row seat like this to sometimes what I think is the most predictable story on earth, and that is the fall of the loudmouth who thinks he's untouchable. Now, this guy, his name is Moises Bernal. He's a No Kings activist, or at least that's where he was. He's a self-proclaimed revolutionary, I guess. And they think they could say anything and get away with it because they've always gotten away with it. So you're going to get on here. It's going to go out on social media. Everybody's got a camera these days. He's going to say, grab a gun, shoot ICE agents, wipe them out. That's literally what he said. And I hesitate to even say it here because there's a good chance we don't get to talk about this on social media platforms when these guys are able to say it all the time. But this is what he's saying. He's saying, shoot the men and women who enforce the immigration law. Now, Eric Doherty has this. He said Tom Homan's furious. He says, we're looking at impediment charges. We're looking at who is funding this stuff. It's a matter of time until agents are ambushed and killed. This is going to get an officer killed. So they have this deal. The Democrats now, they're investigating this master ICE tracker that the Democrats have put out because it helps facilitate looking for and locating ICE agents, their locations. And this is not good. Here's what Tom had to say.
Laura, they're all over this. They're all over this. Now they're looking at, impediment charges, looking at who's funding this stuff, right? Because I'm telling you, it's a matter of time. And I hate saying this, but I'm going to say it because I truly believe it's a matter of time before an ICE agent's ambushed and killed. Because we're letting people know where enforcement activities are occurring. And they're looking for the worst of the worst. The last thing we want to do is give a bad guy, the worst of the worst, a heads up that ICE is down the street. This is going to get an officer killed. I go to bed every night, and I pray for every man and woman of ICE and Border Patrol to go home safe to their families. I buried too many ICE agents in my career, and Border Patrol agents. This has to stop. So Pam Bonnie's all over this. I know DOJ's all over this. We'll hold people accountable. This cannot happen. It's disgusting. I can't believe what's going on in this nation today. I wake up every morning in disbelief that people want to call the law enforcement officers the bad guys and the criminal public safety threats the victims. It's ridiculous. It's all upside down. But we're going to keep doing this job and keep President Trump's promise to American people.
Yeah. It's criminal. The other thing that's criminal is all the lip filler that Laura keeps putting in her lips there. She can't even close her mouth. But that's beside the point. I mean, this guy right here, when you're calling to wipe people out, you're talking about the people that protect your border, rescue children from trafficking, and stand between chaos and order. Law enforcement agents. Well, here's the deal. This guy, Moises Bernal, he's been fired. He's been fired from his job at Chicago City Colleges. He's gone, done, out. Another one bites the dust, right? That's what Libs of TikTok said. But I want to unpack this for you for just for a minute, because this isn't just about one man losing his job. This is about a culture that's forgotten how consequences work. There are consequences. Now, losing the job is not enough. This guy really should face some federal charges. But we've raised this generation to believe that outrage is a virtue. We've got an educational system that's told people that emotion is authority. It's not. Moises Bernal Puentes, they, them, he, him, adult education, whatever he was with all these, you got these pronouns, man. They think they can just identify however they want and just get away with whatever. This is who's teaching your kids. You send them off to college for higher education. This is the kind of stuff they're getting. They're getting activists that are tenured in an academic bubble. And they think that if they can be loud enough, they're going to be called brave. And I don't care if it's professors, politicians, social media influencers, everybody, you're going to say that rebellion is righteousness and that destruction is justice, but it's not. The truth is you call for blood, and when you preach violence, when you spew hate in the name of your case, you've already lost the moral argument. I can't stress this enough. I don't care what side you're on. You can't say you're anti-fascist and then act like a fascist. You can't scream about freedom while trying to silence and cancel and destroy everybody that disagrees with you. And you can't claim to be for the people while calling for those to be shot if they wear a Badger uniform. So, he didn't get canceled. Hey, I thought you guys weren't for cancel culture. He got caught red-handed calling for violence. This is not censorship. This is consequence. Please know there's a big difference. Those two words, our culture really needs to learn the difference. Censorship is when you're silenced for speaking the truth. Consequence is when you're punished for spreading evil. He literally called for violence against government agents. That's not free speech. That's a felony mindset. And it's not activism. It's terrorism. The fact that it takes public outrage or an account like Libs of TikTok to even bring this to light shows just how twisted things have become in our society. Because if the roles were reversed, if this was a conservative professor and he said the same thing about a federal agency or an activist group, you and I both know the story would be plastered across every headline in America. They'd be frog marched off campus, blacklisted from every job, and called every name in the book. But when it's a left-wing activist, the system shrugs until the heat gets too high. So he's caught, right? He's busted. He did it right there on camera with a microphone. And the left doesn't actually care about justice. They care about control. They tolerate hate if it fits the narrative, but they'll torch your livelihood if you dare to question that. That's not morality. That is actually hypocrisy that's on parade. And yet, here's what's poetic about this one. Moises Bernal said no kings, right? Well, congratulations, buddy. There's still no king, but consequence. You wanted anarchy? You got unemployment. Because the universe has this law, and it's older than politics. It's older than your protest, and it's older than the internet. It's called cause and effect. You reap what you sow. You throw the fire, you're going to get burned. You pull the pin, you meet the explosion. It's the same spirit we've seen across America in these past few years that's getting worse and worse. People think that rage equals righteousness. They think justice means chaos. They think rebellion is bravery. But real courage, which is the kind of courage, by the way, that our country was built on, that's standing firm on a foundation of values when the mob demands that you kneel to their control. And it's speaking truth when the lies are fashionable. You got to do what's right when it costs you something. And for every Moises Bernal out there who falls, there's countless silent Americans out there, teachers, cops, pastors, mom, dads, mechanics, whoever, standing up every day and quietly doing what's right when the world wants to make fun of them and mock them and laugh at them online. Because that is the backbone of this country. It's not the angry protester in a mask, and it's not the college radical calling for blood. It's the everyday man and woman who still believes in decency and accountability, law and order. Now, and I'll tell you something about consequence while I got you. It's not punishment, folks. It's protection. Because when society enforces its standards, it's protecting the innocent from the destructive. And so when a man loses his job for threatening violence, that's not oppression. I'm sick of you saying that online. It's not oppression. It's civilization saying we're still civilized. Because if you don't have a consequence, everything falls apart. Without consequence, justice becomes a joke. And without consequence, words lose their weight, truth loses their value, and the loudest fool becomes the king. So maybe that's what these no kings radicals hate the most. They don't want a world without kings. They want to be the king themselves. They want to rule with fear and manipulate with shame and crush dissent under the guise of progress. But progress built on hate isn't progress. That's actually very poisonous. So when a guy like this loses his job, that's not a tragedy. It's actually a teaching moment that everyone should learn from. To every wannabe keyboard warrior and every campus radical, every revolutionary that thinks they can, tear the system down without some kind of consequence, I think, as Tom Homan was saying, you're going to be held accountable because your words are going to come back and bite you in the ass and your deeds are going to find you out. What does it say in the Old Testament, the book of Numbers? Be assured your sin will find you out. Because actions still matter, and truth still matters, and consequences still matter. And you can rage all you want about oppression and systems, but at the end of the day, the rules of reality haven't changed. You can't spit in the face of decency and expect a promotion. You can't threaten to kill federal agents and expect to keep getting a paycheck. That's not tyranny. That's common sense. And the kicker of it all, and I'll hush, is this guy worked at Chicago City Colleges, the same institutions that love to preach about tolerance and diversity and inclusion. But the moment one of their own starts calling for violence, they suddenly remember what the word standard means. So to that college, good on you. You did what was right, not because of politics, but because of principle, I hope. And if you're watching this story unfold, I want you to take a note right now. The tide, I think, is turning. People are waking up a little bit. They're sick of this. They're sick of the rhetoric. The majority of Americans are tired of the nonsense, tired of watching radicals torch cities and threaten officers and then cry victim when the bill comes due. So let this be the message, I guess, that we take away. You can build a better world by you can't build a better world by destroying the foundations of civilization. You certainly can't bring unity through hate, and you can't preach peace with your finger on a trigger. Moises Bernal learned the lesson the hard way. He lost his job. But maybe he gained a mirror. So I tell you this, if you don't respect the consequence, you'll experience. If you don't honor the truth, it'll expose you. If you don't guard your words, one day they're going to become your trial transcript. And that's a fact. Make sure you're subscribed to my Rumble channel and over there on YouTube. Leave us a rating and a review where podcasts are offered for the Chad Prather Show. And join me each weekday morning, 8, 7 Central, Before the Noise. That's what it's called, Before the Noise. You can find it all in the same places over on YouTube and Rumble. I appreciate you guys watching. If you haven't done it yet, get my book, Born for Meaning, and you'll find out some more things about consequences, but in the good way, all right? Put some good stuff in your life, folks. Hope everyone takes care of themselves. I'm praying for you. You pray for me. I love y'all. God bless you. I'll talk to you next time. Bye.